Steve Sullivan is the CEO of MADD Canada, and he joins us from Ottawa. So, Steve, 3 children dead in this alleged case of drunk driving. What was your reaction when you heard the news?
Well, I think our first reaction is, like everybody, just complete sadness for the loss of these 3 children. And we hope for a speedy recovery for those who are still in hospital. And there's going to be a long road ahead for everybody involved, and they're going to need the support of their family and friends and community. The other thing, I think, for many of us is just frustration. You know, having been working in this area for some time, every time we read about a crash that injures or kills somebody, with all the education we have, with all the options people have in terms of alternatives to driving impaired, all the enforcement, the fact that this still happens, and now we have another family facing this tragedy, it's really frustrating. It's really upsetting.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's interesting to hear that from you, because I think a lot of other people are both frustrated and puzzled. First of all, what do we know about how widespread these days is driving under the influence?
Well, we have made improvements. If you look at the last couple of decades, I think society's attitudes to driving impaired has changed considerably. So we have seen, reductions in alcohol impaired deaths. Having said that, still hundreds of people who are killed every year and thousands more injured, sometimes quite severely and catastrophically. We know that one of the highest risk categories for driving impaired is young men. That doesn't mean that other people, women and older men can't drive impaired as well. We know they do, but the highest risk category is that, 18 to early 30s. And so we have to keep raising awareness with that group to try and have a message that resonates with them. Fortunately, most people make the right decision, but clearly we know that there are too many people who don't.
There is a reflex at moments like this to call for, the longest possible sentence, the harshest punishment to punish the drunk driver. But this case has already happened. If indeed it is the result of impaired driving, and in any event, the crash has already happened. So the more important question, I think, is how do we prevent the next one? Or at least, if not prevent, how do we significantly reduce the number of events like this?
Yeah, the challenge is there's no one solution to this. If we had that, we would have solved it. So it's continuing education. We go into schools across the country to talk to young people. It's public awareness. It's high profile, effective law enforcement. If people believe there's a perception, they have a perception they're going to get caught, that will change their behavior. Effective laws, people talking to those in their families, talking, to your young people in your life. People taking the time to call 911 if they see someone impaired. Ultimately, though, as long as people have a choice to drive impaired, there will be those that will. And so I think, what we're going to see is technology will ultimately be one of the game changers in the fight against alcohol impaired driving. That's down the road. We have a lot of work to do then, but I think ultimately technology is going to be a lifesaver.
Yeah, so I hadn't thought about that. I mean, there is so much technology in our cars now. Like, even as I was driving into work today, and the blind spot warning, fired up on the mirror. In the old days, it was just the shoulder check is all you had. Now you have technology that helps you out. But what's the technology that you're seeing potentially on the horizon that could have a big impact on this?
Well, in the United States, a couple of years ago, they passed legislation, bipartisan legislation, that called for anti-impaired driving technology in all new cars in the next couple of years, maybe by 2028. That focused on alcohol impaired driving. And it's technology that's passive, so you don't have to do anything. It's not like a breathalyzer where you blow into the device. It's in your steering wheel. It's your touch when you touch to turn on your car. And it'll allow you to start the car, but not drive the car. And so we believe that, and the estimates in the U.S. will be that'll save, 70, 80% of lives from impaired driving. That's coming in the U.S. We hope that it'll come in Canada as well, just the way that our cars are made. That's going to take time, but that will be a huge game changer in terms of saving lives and preventing injuries.
There's something you touched on that I want to finish with, and that is the personal impact we can have. What is it that we should be doing? And you mentioned families, but even among friend groups, right? You go out, a bunch of people watch the hockey game, and that is often like in a setting where there is drinking. What is it that we should be doing in our personal lives to try to reduce incidents?
Yeah, it's about having conversations, which sometimes might be difficult. It's if we're going out with friends, hey, how are you getting there? How are you getting home? At the bar, if you know someone drove there, ask again, what's the plan? I mean, you've had a couple. The last thing we want people to do is when they're at the pub with their friends and they've had a few drinks to try and decide if they're under the legal limit or if they're safe to drive. At that point, call an Uber, take public transportation. We all have cell phones. Call a friend, call family, whatever the other options that exist. There's so many different options you have. And as difficult as it might be for some people, if you think someone is driving impaired or you see someone on the road and you can safely make a call, please call 911 because you might be saving a life.
You know, most people do the right thing, but clearly not everybody does. Steve, thank you very much for speaking with us this afternoon.
Thank you for having me.
Steve Sullivan, CEO of MADD Canada.